This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com.
Hello and welcome to episode number 125. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 16th of August 2009. Nice to have you with us. Let me ask you a question. What is green and manages a project? Well, the answer isn't Kermit the Frog. The answer is all of us. At least, that is the answer given by Rich Maltzman and David Shirley from earthpm.com. David and Rich are two experienced project managers who realized that green is a must because, according to PMI, the world will spend 1/5 of its GDP on projects. That's a hefty $12 trillion this year alone. That is a lot of energy that we put into projects, and those projects will then use energy, save energy, use resources, and save resources in ways that we cannot yet imagine. That's why they founded earthpm.com, which is devoted to the intersection of project management and green, where green has to do with preventing climate change, preserving resources, and getting things done effectively and efficiently, which should already be flowing in the green blood of any project manager worth their weight in risk registers anyway. Today's episode is sponsored by Wrike. How do you assign tasks and track your team's progress? Calls, emails, and spreadsheets. All that makes you buried in routine work. To get the full insight into projects and save up to 25 hours a month, thousands of managers worldwide use Wrike. Try Wrike free and get an exclusive, limited-time 25% project management podcast discount on your 1-year subscription. Visit www.wrike.com and use PMP as the promo code. Would you like to receive a project management book just for expressing your personal opinion? No problem. Do you remember pmopinions.com? PM Opinions is a sister website of the Project Management Podcast. On this website, we have about 700 project management products. That's books, templates, tools, software, etc. And you will find reviews, ratings, and opinions from project managers around the world on these products. And that's where the free book comes into play. The book is called Lessons in Project Management. It is written by Tom Mokel and Jeff Mokel and a little over 300 pages long. It discusses the 50 top lessons that can help you as a project manager today to be successful. To receive your copy, simply go to pmopinions.com, sign on with your free username, and leave a review for one of the 700 items on the site. And as soon as your review is approved by the moderators, you will receive your copy of this book. So stop by, share your experience, and get the 50 lessons for free. Oh, and of course, if you are in the market of buying a project management related product, then you should stop by at PM Opinions first and read what others think about the product you're about to buy. That's it for our announcements today. So let's move right into our main interview. Rich Maltzman, PMP, has been an engineer since 1978 and a project management supervisor since 1988, including a recent 2-year assignment in the Netherlands, in which he built a team of project managers overseeing deployments of telecom networks in Europe and the Middle East. His project work has been diverse, including projects such as the successful deployment of the entire video and telecom infrastructure for the 1996 Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta, to the 2006 integration of the PMO of two large merging corporations. Recently, Rich presented at 2 international conferences, the PMO Symposium in San Antonio, Texas, and the PMO Summit in Coconut Grove, Florida. The subject being the development framework for project managers. Currently, Rich is Senior Manager, Learning and Professional Advancement at the Global Program Management Office of a major telecom concern. David Shirley, PMP, is a consultant, educator and course developer. Prior to accepting an early retirement offer from a major telecommunications company in 2001, David was a program management director, managing the deployment of telecommunications networks for several large customers, with equipment and service contracts totaling over $1 billion. Along with Rich Maltzman, he presented to the conference board in Mexico City on how quality management and project management are one and the same. Since retiring, David developed, taught, and directed the North Essex Community College's Project Management Certification Program, is on the graduate faculty for the New England College, and regularly teaches managing projects in NEC's Master of Management curriculum. And he was the subject matter expert for NEC's online managing project course. He is a facilitator for Southern New Hampshire University Online, a senior instructor for ESI International, and consults in project management for his own company, Earth PM LLC. Enjoy the interview.
The Project Management Podcasts feature interview.
Today with Rich Maltzman and David Shirley. Hello, Rich, and hello, Dave, and welcome to the program.
It's good to be here again, Cornelius.
Thanks a lot, Cornelius. It's going to be fun.
I hope it will be. It's going to be a lot of green fun, as a matter of fact, because the premise that we are going to be using for our interview today is the green wave, how all projects need to be green. So, tell me, why do you propose that all projects have to be green?
Cornelius, we're focused less on a mandate that the projects have to be green because we're afraid that all the glaciers are melting and all that's going to be left of North America is some big mountain somewhere. What we're saying instead is that, like quality, green efforts, green should be planned into the project because it's the right thing to do and because it's going to help you do things right as a project manager. We, of course, do think the environment is important, but if you go out and read some books, some literature out there is proving that business and projects are really just a small core sample of business. Business stands to gain if it invests in efficient and effective processes, and projects run better when they're efficient and effective. We've always maintained this, that projects are a microcosm of general business operations, and we can reference some books here that are making this point, and we recommend these as reading for your listeners. Green to Gold by S.T. Winston, great book. The Truth About Green Business by Gil Friend. Hot, Flat, and Crowded by Thomas Friedman. You'll remember him as the author of The World is Flat. And Dave, I think you have one to bring up as well.
Yes, and also Gary Hirschberg's book, Stirring It Up, which highlights the fact that green makes good fiscal sense and uses companies like Stonyfield Farms, Whole Foods, Patagonia, and Timberland as examples of that success.
Right.
So these books, just to get it right, these books are more about green in general and not about green project management, right?
These books are about green business. They're not about green in general. I'd say they're not environmentalists' books. They're books that are very, very focused, but on green business. What we haven't found out there is a lot of things that are laser focused on project management and green, and that's the intersection on which we're focused.
Right. Okay. And I understand there will at some point be a green project management book coming out with your names on it, right?
We hope so. We're working on that. Early 2010, we expect a book to come out from us on green project management. Yes.
Yeah, and here's, of course, my open invitation for both of you to come back and talk to our listeners about your book. Okay. That's going to be exciting. So, but everybody seems currently to be talking about green this and green that, and so it seems somewhat natural that project managers are also jumping on this green. What's your position here? Is green just a fad, or is green here to stay, so to speak?
Well, like we said earlier, Cornelius, we think that paying attention to the environment and running projects effectively, efficiently, can and should be done even if you don't like trees, even if you're not a tree hugger. And, we think we should have people doing this, even if the only type of green you do happen to like is in the form of little pieces of paper with presidents on them.
Right, and PMs have always been green. By definition, we're constantly trying to reduce costs, increase value, protect scarce resources. That reduction, increase, and protection is being green. In our eyes, all of the processes to accomplish that have been fragmented and have simply missed the environmental lens to view the savings of the resources as a green effort as well as a project management effort.
Yeah, right, Dave. We want to try to bring this together. We don't think of green as a fad, but as the way to do business in the future. We actually, I'd like a quote to insert a quote here from Gil Friend in his book, The Truth About Green Business. He says it really well. He says, "The days of thinking that doing the right thing as being separate from its only business are drawing to a close. The business leaders of tomorrow and today are going for both business success and social benefit, making dollars and making sense with an S. In the words of GE's CEO, Jeff Immelt, green is green." And here he's referring to the green dollars.
Yes. It almost also sounds as if you're proposing a new knowledge area in the PMBOK guide.
Well, actually, I don't know about a knowledge area, but we are working with PMI formally.
Yes.
We have communicated with them and have heard back, and they're waiting for some more details from us. And actually, your listeners can contribute here. We have formally proposed that the 5th edition, and boy, it stings to mention the 5th edition with the 4th edition just coming out.
Yeah, just out, yeah.
But, they are already working on, there is already a group working on the 5th edition. And we're insisting that not only the PMBOK guide, but the Code of Ethics and Professional Responsibility needs to be brought up a notch in terms of environmental awareness. So in the Code of Ethics, the word environment is mentioned once almost in passing. We'd like that to be a little more prominent. And then in terms of, no, not a knowledge area. I think, we need to know about the environment. But instead of a knowledge area, we're talking about some integrated processes, again, a la quality, that are put into the PMBOK guide. We don't know how many yet. We have a sketch of a couple of processes that we can add to the PMBOK guide, without being overbearing, not mandating that everyone wears, recycled clothing and so forth. We just want to have this a little bit more in our DNA.
Okay, so that's the PMI side. But
yes.
What about the other project management associations out there? I mean, there's the ASAPM, there's Prince2. What about all of these other folks that are doing project management?
I think we need to start with PMI, but we also recognize that those other organizations are important and then need to be encompassed in the effort as well. But I think starting with PMI is what we'd like to do.
Okay. Well, let's come back to our core discussion here about green project management, earth project management. Because what I hear coming out of PMI also is the term sustainable project management. Do you equate green project management with sustainable project management? Do you see a difference here?
Well, green is usually used in reference to the environment and ecology. And people think of this term as having even political implications, which it shouldn't. Sustainability is a word that really covers green, but it also points to, as Gil Friend calls it, living and doing business in ways that don't erode the potential for future generations, and is referring to the so-called triple bottom line of economic, environmental, and social benefits. And that's the path to creating significant, durable business value.
Where do you see where you guys fit into this? Are you more on the green side, more on the sustainable side? Where's your book going to land?
I think we're going to try to, like Gil Friend does, stick with a focus on sustainability because it's more all-encompassing. That term covers green. We actually played with the introduction of a new term. In fact, it is on Urban Dictionary along with all of the swear words. We have a word we've invented called greenality, and it's the characteristic of a project having green aspects in it. And it kind of has a flavor of sustainability. So this greenality term covers, I think, the way we'd like to see green applied, and I think has this element of sustainability. But the reason we use the term greenality is it ends in ality like quality does. And it's that idea that it's woven through the project. It has to be planned in. It can't be thrown in afterwards as like frosting on a cake. It has to be planned in all throughout the project. Mm-hmm. So we'll take more of a sustainability angle, I believe.
All right. One thing that I liked on your website, earthpm.com, is the 5 assertions that you have up there, the 5 assertions of EarthPM. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to go through these 5 assertions with you and then give you guys a little bit of a moment here to reflect on each of those and tell us a bit more about what this assertion means to you, what this assertion means to us as project managers. So the first one is a project run with green intent is the right thing to do, but it will also help the project team do things right. Dave, what's your thought on this here?
Yes, green intent is conserving those valuable resources that we talked about before, but it's more than that. It's committing to doing the right thing morally and ethically, and when the project team sees that commitment, it sees the path it should take to be aligned and allied with it.
Okay, and I see your how you connect this, of course, then to the PMI's code of ethics, because you mentioned morally and ethically here as well.
Correct.
That this is part of the value that we as project managers would put into this.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Assertion number 2. Project managers must first understand the green aspect of their projects, knowing that this will better equip them to identify, manage, and respond to project risks. Rich,
yes.
What's your thought here?
Well, actually, this will help those who are studying for the PMP exam. We know that when we categorize risk, we do a better job of identifying it. And I've seen through all the books that I've read, helping people prepare for their exams, things like social risk and economic risk. Rarely do I see ecological risk as one of the categories that people put up there. So when we identify risk and you add new categories, you expand your view outside the environment of the project and out to the environment, period, the planet we live on. If you understand the risks, both the threats and opportunities of that broader environment, you're going to do a better job of identifying and responding to project risks. It's as simple as that.
Right. And I'm not sure, but have you already spoken also to the 3rd assertion here? Because the 3rd assertion is an environmental strategy for a project provides added opportunity for success of both the project and the product of the project. I think you kind of talked about that already. A
little bit. I think just like the PMI, these processes or these assertions interact and overlap in ways that aren't explained here. There is some coverage in 2 that kind of bleeds a little into 3, but there is a different angle here. The point here is that in assertion 3, that when you start to do this work on the project, you also have a better understanding of the product of the project and the way that is going to have an effect on sustainability, on the environment, on our children and children's children.
The 4th assertion, that's the longest one here. Project managers must view their projects through an environmental lens. This increases the project managers and the project team's long-term thinking and avails the project of the rising green wave of environmentalism. All right. Who wants to take that one on?
I'll grab it, and then I'll let Dave take the last one.
Okay.
I'll try to make it a short answer. Basically, this is reflecting what was said in Green to Gold by Esty and Winston, and they apply it to business. And what I saw when I read that book is, wow, this applies to projects very, very cleanly. Excuse the pun. The idea is that, first of all, there's two pieces to this. One is very, what's the right word, self-centered. And it's basically saying, hey, there's a rising wave of awareness on green. Let's take advantage of it. Let's make sure the project is connected to that. The second piece is that you will do better as a team if you take this environmental view, because it increases your long-term thinking and not your thinking about what deliverable is due next Wednesday. That kind of long-term thinking benefits a business, and we assert that it benefits a project.
Yes, I can see that. Final one, as we said, that one goes to Dave. Project managers must think of the environment in the same way that they think of quality. It must be planned in. And the cost of greenality, here's that word that you mentioned, and the cost of greenality, like the cost of quality, is more than offset by the savings and opportunities it provides. You know, this kind of reminds me of the saying, quality is free. Is that kind of where you guys are going with this one, Dave?
I'm sorry, quality is free?
Yes. Wasn't that, who said that again? Crosby said quality is free because quality, the results that you get from great quality offsets all the cost.
All of its costs, correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Precisely.
Is that where you're going?
And that's exactly where we're going here. And all we say is that project managers are well aware of the knowledge area of quality, and they know how to approach quality, and you just approach greenality in the same way, that you plan it in, you don't inspect it in, and that if you don't plan it in, by the time you realize it hasn't been planned in, it's too late and the damage has been done.
Well, all right then. Let's take what we have just heard and let's try and find out how we take these 5 assertions and bring them into our projects. So how can we ensure that our projects are going to be green?
We could start with the product of the project. First of all, one thing that folks have to realize, we're not talking here about a project that must be a wind farm or a carbon scrubber or some kind of recycling system. If you're producing a new release of software, for example, how that's packaged, distributed, advertised, and used, all of those things have green considerations. You take those considerations and work backwards through the processes of the project itself. Are you invoking unnecessary travel? Are you using resources at a higher level than needed for your project or for the environment? Look at previous projects and set goals to reduce that. So, for example, commit to use 15% less paper or 15% less power or gas. These can be done whether your project is a wind farm or release 7.3.2.1 of Skype.
All right. So what would such a policy look like?
Well, it's kind of hard to define here because it can vary so much by project and practice. But it's actually something that we'd like help from your listeners. Our proposal to PMI is not yet finished, and we'd love to collaborate with your listeners on the effort to affect the Code of Ethics and Professional Responsibility, as well as green processes, including a template policy that could be put in a project charter, for instance, especially if some of them are already deploying such policies.
Should such a charter not better be something that management issues? Didn't you mention a corporate quality policy, maybe a corporate green policy?
Don't know if I mentioned it here. I do know from my experience in the corporate world that these exist. And this is a very good question. And actually, here's a place, especially in the corporate world, where a PM can be a flashpoint for a company's behavior and policy. If your company has such a policy, and most of them do, just for political reasons even, a lot of companies will have these policies. That's great. Make sure that you feather into that policy, draw some energy from it, refer to it in your charter. Just like project managers draw authority from a sponsor, here the green aspect of the project manager, your green conscious, if you want to call it that, can draw authority from such a corporate policy on the environment. If that's too vague or too weak, you, the PM and the PM community, can be the driver to make sure that that policy is a little more specific and a little more aggressive. So we see the PM as a flashpoint here. Again, I like how Dave puts it. Projects are where ideas become reality. Projects are where a company's business strategy has its touch points on the road. And given that, project managers can be the energy, excuse the pun again, behind a green policy.
I'd like to point out, though, Cornelius, you are very right about it being a management issue, too. Because if there's no top-down support, projects are doomed for failure. So greening a project is a project within a project. If greening of a project is not supported by upper management, projects won't get greened no matter how hard we try. The resources and, more importantly, the mindset won't be there. There has to be an explicit support, not implicit, for the greening of projects to be successful.
Okay. Let me throw something else at you guys here, because what I did before we started the interview, I went onto Twitter. And on Twitter, I said that I would be doing an interview with you guys, and if there were any of my followers out there who have a question for you. And believe it or not, I actually do have a gentleman here he goes by the name of DJZAF. Great name. Can't even pronounce that. And it looks like he's from Iran, maybe? I'm not quite sure. And his question about the whole thing of green for you guys is this: where do I see myself as CAPM certified in terms of job industries? And do you have some tips for green certifications, for green project management certifications? So I guess the first part, not really relevant to our interview here, but the second part, do you know of any certifications that focus on green?
Well, actually, let me say that the first part does have some relevance, in my opinion, for your listener, for your follower. Yes, for your follower.
Yes.
In that we see this green wave as providing all kinds of opportunity for project managers in a very direct way with a number of energy-related and environmental-related projects. So becoming familiar with green language, LEED certification, carbon credits, some of the things we'll talk about in our book is going to be important for a job hunting strategy, because that's where jobs will open up. Secondly,
as a matter of fact, this is a great question. We are working on a green certification program for PMs. We're presently negotiating with several local colleges and universities who have shown interest in our program. We already have a curriculum defined that includes several levels of certification.
All right. You know what? I think this sounds like a great topic for a second interview, guys.
Sounds good to us.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll take his question here, and we'll move that out and do a second interview just where we focus a little bit more on these green certifications. And by the way, the LEED that you mentioned, in fact I do have a friend of mine who has one of the LEED. Okay, here's a pun from my end. One of the leading LEED certifications trainings online. So. It does indeed make sense.
Excellent.
Right. Cool. So let's move this towards the end here. Let's help our listeners a little bit. I would like to know your favorite online or also offline resources for project managers where they could get started in green.
Okay, I'll take a shot at this. First of all, I think you have to buy our premise. I think most people will, and that is that project management is a microcosm of business. It is the touch point. It's where ideas become reality. It's where a company's strategy faces the world. So if you agree with that, then you would agree that understanding business in general is a way to understand projects in specifically. So I think that given that, if you buy that premise, then books on green business are good reading for project managers. So to that end, we have already mentioned a few of them. Green to Gold by Esty and Winson. Yes. And these are offline. These are books, although a lot of these authors also have websites. So I encourage you to Google the names of the books. You'll probably find that these authors have put together very good websites as well. So Green to Gold by Estienne Winston, the book by Gil Friend called The Truth About Green Business. Those are excellent. Tom Friedman, it's a thicker book. He tends to write these big tomes, but they're interesting. Hot, Flat, and Crowded is the book by Thomas Friedman. And that, again, is a book on green business, but you won't help reading it as a project manager saying, wow. You keep saying, wow. So, and as far as online references, we're going to stick with earthpm.com because we are trying to serve as a portal for this. We have interviews with folks involved in environmental projects. We have interviews with people in the packaging project business, in the construction business, and we'll have again, it's a portal, so you can go to earthpm.com and get to quite a few other places from us. Dave, did you want to add anything? Perhaps on the LinkedIn groups? Maybe the LinkedIn groups.
And Gary, again, I'll mention Gary Hirschberg's book, Stirring It Up. It's a quick read, and it's you'll have a lot of wow moments as far as how much money has been saved. And we can talk about that.
Just to help with that, this book is by the CEO of Stonyfield Farms, which is near to we're in the New England area, and Stonyfield Farms is also, and it's a dairy company. And so it's very well known, although it's an international firm, right?
Yeah,
they ship everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So I think this is a very pragmatic view by a gentleman that actually Dave knows. So it's good insight into running a business in a green way.
Excellent. I'll make sure that, of course, we have links to the books that you mentioned, and we also will have a link to earthpm.com on our website in the show notes. But of course, earthpm.com. I mean, anyone can remember that. Great choice of website name, by the way.
It keeps us the name EarthPM, and here's my last pun. It keeps us grounded.
All right. On that note, Rich, Dave, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Cornelius.
Thank you very much.
And that was our discussion on green project management with Rich Maltzman and David Shirley. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. And of course, if you like our podcast, then please forward it to your friends, your co-workers, project management colleagues, or anyone else who might enjoy it. As always, you can find us on the web at thepmpodcast.com. If you are a project manager who wants to become a PMP, then the easiest way to do so is with our sister podcast, the Project Management Prepcast, and study for the exam by watching over 40 hours of video training from pmprepcast.com. And if you are already a PMP, then stop by at pmlectures.com. We go beyond just delivering PDUs. We give you exclusive training from the brightest minds in project management today. Please send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com, and when you write, yes, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. I didn't say the project failure was your fault. I just said I was going to blame it on you. Until next time. So, tell me, why do you propose that all projects have to be green? Probably a simple answer, but difficult to give a good let me try that again, shall I? Difficult answer. What am I saying?
It's an easy question with a difficult answer.
Exactly.